everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. This is the series' yearly release for Call of Duty. As such, you can imagine most of it is gonna be familiar if you play the last couple of games. But did they try to at least do anything different this time? Let's go over the gameplay and find out. The gameplay of Black Ops 6 is spread out among 3 different game modes: campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. Campaign is of course a story-driven experience, multiplayer is the player versus player mode with several different game modes, and zombies is 1 to 4 players versus zombies and is also round-based once again. Throughout each mode, the game presents its usual gameplay loop of delivering smooth gunplay with other mechanics dependent on which mode you play. For the campaign, each mission will give you different weapons, and there is actually some meaningful gameplay changes this time around, like having a safe house to go back to between missions, and varied experiences throughout the campaign going from boots on the ground gameplay to open world missions to missions straight out of a spy movie. This is in contrast to the previous games, which, while they also had some varied missions, didn't go to the same extent to deliver unique gameplay experiences, and also didn't have a safe house to explore in between missions. But how did the story fare for the campaign? The story of Black Ops 6 takes place 10 years after the ending of Black Ops 5 in 1991. Despite being the 6th installment for Black Ops, you do not need to necessarily have played the previous games. Operation Desert Storm is in full swing, and after your squad of CIA operatives horribly fail a clandestine mission at the start of the game, they slip into the shadows to uncover the details of a mysterious paramilitary organization named Pantheon. Will they succeed in unraveling the mystery, or will they only have more questions by the end? But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat? Another year, another Call of Duty, and every time it comes out, the big question is it worth the money, or am I just gonna get this on Game Pass now and then cancel next month? What do you think, Chris?
Oh, that's really funny that you say that because, you know, remember when Call of Duty Black Ops 6, I mean, we literally just talked about it like last week's episode where they dropped that, you know, that Twitter announcement and they jumped on quickly and they're like, thanks for making this launch historic. And we were like, wow, this is like something to celebrate. And you nailed it. It's like, yeah, I bet it was. When you've got Game Pass on both the Xbox and PC, you're pretty much just handing out invites like a party favor.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, so like, you know, just to kind of remind people of some of the things that they were even saying in that tweet. Remember when they said #1 total players? Well, duh, you basically gave people ways to, you know, play the game, even though you can't find a way to dodge those campers throughout Black Ops 6. The #1 hours played, well, of course, you know, hours are played or through the roof because gamers, let's face it, here in 2024, going into 2025, we will cancel plans. We will ignore texts. We will forget to eat food, for crying out loud, if there's a good Call of Duty release. And come on, every time a Black Ops hype comes out, it's never missed. So we always want to give it a shot, whether our aiming's on point or not.
Yeah, and I think they actually did some different things this time around, you know. And I'm not just talking about the Omni movement, because that is a thing that is definitely different, but you don't necessarily have to actually take part in that if you don't want to. You can still play it kind of like the older Call of Duties, and as long
What do
as
you mean you can't take part in it? It's throughout the whole multiplayer experience.
Well, I mean, yeah, as long as your aim is fine, though, Chris, you're good. You know,
right, and
you can learn that Omni movement to just elevate the experience.
And I don't even think it's a bad thing. I actually think the omnidirectional movement thing is actually quite a plus. I really thought it would actually kind of kill the experience. I think there's other things about the game that just really kind of pull people away. I mean, you know, like the fact that even in the third to last point that they were saying in that that iconic tweet, they were like, thank you for making this community base that we have, making this historic launch. Well, they were also celebrating the point that it was the #1 total matches ever created during an opening day and an opening weekend. Well, this one's got to be a match trick when you think about it, Henrik, because I don't know about you, but it felt like every match was about like 5 minutes long, and you're probably lucky to even survive past 30 seconds. You know, so
well, you know, that's the whole thing. Call of Duty multiplayer is meant to be pretty frustrating, and then you have a couple games where you're like, yes, I'm on top of the leaderboards, and then you go back to being frustrated. You know, it's just one of those games. You know, it's that mixed match of you're really happy, then you're really unhappy.
Yeah, right. It feels like it's the fast track to respawn therapy. They got to fix that. They know it. They've already been dropping tweets saying that we're working on a patch update because some of these maps are just so freaking horrendous. It just kind of completely kills the experience. But I gotta say,
Yeah.
my blood pressure starts rising when I start thinking about why they still can never freaking figure this thing out already. I know you're already gonna start saying your iconic phrase, but I feel like I can swindle you over with this one. The skill-based matchmaking needs to go. I mean, I can't stand this shit, bro. I mean, yeah, we all have the thrill of like stomping noobs out, or even sometimes getting absolutely wrecked myself. I mean, we all like that, but we need a little bit of
Oh,
balance. You know what I'm
so
saying?
you're thinking that the approach that X Defiant took with no skill-based matchmaking was better?
I honestly think if they want to go with the skill based, they got to try to do it along the lines of maybe like, let's say Fortnite, where you can have that extra game mode option where if you want to go towards that route, go for it. But if I just want to be a regular casual gamer and just jump in and sometimes start winning matches and then sometimes start losing matches, it's always like 10 games of just straight shitting on somebody or 10 straight games of just getting my ass kicked. And that's why
Yeah,
I
you
can't
win a couple
stand.
games at the top of the leaderboard, and then you get immediately put with all the unemployment people.
Oh, what, you saying that about me? No, I was kidding.
No,
But it's
no,
like,
I mean, I appreciate that they've said that they're trying to fix some of the issues. Like, I think the big issue that I've had with the multiplayer is the spawning, because some of these
right.
maps, depending on what mode it is, they're kind of a little too big. Because there's sometimes you'll spawn in and you won't find anyone for a good minute.
Yeah,
That shouldn't happen in this kind of game. Then you'll
exactly.
have
Like,
other times you spawn in and you die instantly.
yeah,
Come on.
can we get a little balance here? Because I want to get wrecked and get wrecked. You know what I mean? But I just don't want to feel like I'm sweating it out like I'm training for the Olympics. Like, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then you know what? Things just couldn't get a little bit weirder. We also got Black Ops 6 Season 1 that is hitting on November 14th with 3 new maps. Hideout, Extraction, and Heirloom. They're all 6 versus 6 or 2 versus 2 if you really want things personal. I believe that's only with the Heirloom map. So, people were hyped for maps like Payback, Supersonic, Skyline. Sure, great names, but these spawns, like you said, they're just out of control. It feels
Yeah.
like you're just trying to dance your way out of the wedding. You know,
Isn't
I don't
it
want to be on the floor anymore.
isn't it so crazy that when Call of Duty games come out with new maps, no one likes them. And then you play them and you're like, I understand. I understand why no one likes them. But then they come out with remakes or re-releases of other maps like they did with Nuketown for this one. And
Hmm.
everyone's like, yes, this is what we wanted.
Because
We
that's the
wanted
only
this map.
map that actually has a good spawn location. It's not
Yeah.
that hard to figure it out. So that's the sad part. But I gotta also say too, I gotta pick a bone about this too. Who came up with the idea over there with Activision Blizzard, Treyarch and them, like the recon perk? Like, what are we
Oh,
doing? Why
you
are we
were one of
giving
those people
players?
who didn't like that? I thought that was pretty cool.
Dude, that
But
is
maybe
so.
I was just taking advantage of it.
You know what, Henrik? You're starting to look like a knockoff version of Superman, man. You think that you can look through walls now? You think you all cool with your X-ray vision? That like totally kills the experience. And maybe I feel like that's what kind of killed some of these maps because when you have that additional add-on, you feel like it feels like a cheat code in a sense.
Well, I see what they're doing. They're trying to make sure people aren't camping, because when you're camping and you're in the corner and then someone
Okay.
spawns in and they see you through the wall just sitting in that corner, well, I'm sorry to say it, but camping's not going to work.
Gosh, it's like that recon perk drove me nuts like crazy. And then I also gotta say too, but it seems like it's always the tell of the tape every single year when they do drop a new Call of Duty title, but it's always the weapons they can always never figure out. Like it's always ARs are the kings of the hill, while the submachine guns are firing packing peanuts. And then like, why do the pistols somehow steal the show? I mean, I don't understand that.
Yeah,
They
some of
feel
those
like
pistols take like 3 shots and then you're dead.
right, it's like a gold tier pistol in Fortnite. It's like, oh, aren't this supposed to be the most realistic game that Call of Duty has dropped? And then all of a sudden they do stuff like that, and you're like, you're killing me, Smalls. But then, you do have some highlights in the game. It's not just about the multiplayer experience. You also got zombies and the campaign
Which,
mode.
the zombies mode, that's the only mode that the boys have wanted to play with me. So
But
I
okay,
had fun with them and that.
okay,
That I'm glad it's round based again.
okay, I'm glad that you just referenced that because when I have done zombies, it's always been like solo queues, and there's been conversations online because I haven't had the experience of joining on with friends, like a group like four players in the map together. But some people say that's the way better experience because sometimes when you go in solo queue, then you can't go after some of those Easter eggs that you want to find in zombies. And
Mm.
sometimes with these maps, you might be stuck there for like 3 hours. And I know like that's gotta be quite devastating when you're playing with a
Yeah.
bunch of randoms and you're trying to take it serious and they don't know what the hell they're doing because you're gonna at least need like two of your buddies,
And just
out of the
coordinate,
three that
like,
that
hey,
know what they're
bro,
doing.
could you wrangle this last zombie and just have them chase you around so that we
Right?
can figure this out?
Yeah, exactly. And it takes like way too long to kind of find the Easter eggs, which I think is that can kind of hurt a little bit. But I feel like that's only for like a tiny little crowd, for the
Well,
Call of Duty,
you just got to
experience.
look up a video for them at that point, because
Yeah.
someone's gonna figure it out day one. That's just how the zombies mode has always been.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But and then another knock that I gotta say too is that I know that like more games are becoming live services, but can we just please bring an offline mode for campaign and zombies? I mean, it's just baffling to think that you have to be connected at all times to the server, or
Yeah,
if your Wi-Fi goes down, I can't even play the campaign mode. Like,
it's a shame too because I actually really liked this campaign. The campaign mode in this game, I know it's going to be divisive on whether people like it or not, but the direction they went with the storytelling of having a safe house, and there was even a puzzle at the safe house that stumped me for like 30 minutes to an
you felt
hour.
like you were playing God of War
Uh, not
or
even that. It's
Uncharted.
just like I liked that approach to storytelling where they were trying something different, and I was actually having a conversation with someone. It's kind of actually stuff that other games have been doing for a while. So maybe it's time that
They
they
just kind
actually
of caught
tried
on.
to catch up with that. And even outside of that, though, some of these missions were actually very engaging. There was one mission that was like a horror game. There's
Yep.
one mission that felt like it was straight out of a James Bond movie. And then there's a
Yeah.
mission where you're doing like an open world thing. And then there's some missions where you can approach it in like a stealth approach, not even be seen by anyone. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed all the variations that they decided to do this year with the campaign.
Yeah, I was quite surprised playing the campaign how many times I was thrown out of my chair with some of those jump scares too. I've
Mm.
never seen so many jump scares in a campaign in my life when it came to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So that's really, really cool. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. And like you said, you're going to get some of those like traditional missions, like you say, like they're either stealthy or you're just marching forward, you know.
Yeah.
But, there is a lot of like trying to gather what's makes all the Call of Duty campaign experience from all of their titles. It really feels like they really did do a really good job. And, that's really kudos towards Raven Software, who focused on the campaign for Call of
Mhm.
Duty Black Ops 6. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to not ignore when it comes to the game. But then again, we have to get down to a verdict, Henrik. Is it a pause or repeat? Would you rather have me go first or would you?
I'll have you go first this time.
I gotta say it's a pause. It's a pause. Absolutely a pause. But if you do have, the Game Pass on Xbox or PC, what are you waiting for? Take advantage, have some fun with it. But like for $70, it's just not for me. There's just too many good games out there that can match that kind of same level experience. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another new IP that's gonna also challenge it just as much. I know X Defiant wasn't quite there yet, but it's like anybody can kind of copy this model, and if they don't figure it out pretty damn soon, especially with all this cheating that's still going on with the whole multiplayer experience, it's just going to be the same old crap over and over and over again, and I'm just not willing to pay $70 to do that all over again. So I'm calling it a pause.
Yeah, I can definitely agree when it comes to the worth of the game. There's a lot at value, but I wouldn't say it's $70 worth of value.
No.
Game Pass price, hey, that's actually a really great value at that point. But when it comes down to it, what are you going to be playing the most? Probably
Yeah.
the multiplayer. And when it comes down to the multiplayer, it has the same issues that a lot of the previous games from the past couple years have had. I appreciate they're trying to fix it, but my verdict is as it is now. And the verdict is it's a pause.
Right,
Because I'm not going
exactly.
to say it's a repeat until they fix some of those things. And if they eventually do, hey, maybe that'll change. Maybe a year from now it'll be different. But as of right now, it's a pause.
Yeah, and we'll have to even see when Black Ops 6 Season 1, kicks off on November 14th, whether that, becomes that like solidified bang where it's like glorified. But right now at this time, as we're just finished reviewing it, you heard the verdict from both Henrik the Wreck and Chris Collins. It's a definite pause from us. But we want to know from you gamers, are you guys vibing with Call of Duty Black Ops 6? Do you think this is like the next greatest installment to the franchise, or were you just a bit let down?
Yeah, or
Let
do you
us
feel
know.
like maybe you want to wait for a sale to grab it with a couple buddies and then jump in and play it?
Yeah, come on, Black Friday, Call of Duty.
Yeah.
They probably won't.
Probably
they won't
not,
they
unfortunately.
won't bring it down to 45.